Welcome, friends, to another edition of Wolff Responds. I'm your host, Richard Wolff. I want to respond today to a decision by the Biden administration to hit China, yes, again, with huge new tariffs on electric vehicles, semiconductor chips, solar panels, batteries, and other objects. Most stunning is the quadrupling of the tariff against electric vehicles from China. I want to talk about this, which has several dimensions, all of which add up to one conclusion. This is a sad chapter in the decline of the American capitalist system, and it should be understood in that way so we don't make more bad judgments like this one. So let's begin. This is an act of protection. Tariffs protect industries inside the United States from competition that comes from abroad, from other countries. From time to time in American history, we have protected American industries in this way. When you're a little country trying to become a big country, it's called the infant industry argument for tariffs. But we're not a little country. We're not trying to make it in a world dominated by others. We are quite the opposite. We are a big, powerful country, but on the way down, and nothing shows it more than this. Why are we protecting the American industry? Oh, the government likes to say to save jobs. They always want to do something for jobs. It's as genuine as a $4 bill, as I will explain. Here's the problem. The People's Republic of China has done a better job competitively in producing electric vehicles, batteries for them, solar panels, and a bunch of other things. The whole world knows it. They've had 10 years, as we have in this country, to produce electric vehicles. They've done a really good job and now dominate the world by producing the highest quality and the lowest price of electric vehicles, cars, and trucks. The United States, slow to respond, even foreign producers inside the United States and elsewhere, slow to respond. The Chinese won the competition, and their cars and trucks are therefore sweeping the world because they are the best and the cheapest. The United States has a choice. Let American companies compete with the Chinese and hopefully do it quickly, do it effectively, even though they haven't done that so far. Or it can protect them. A tariff does that. Let me give you a simple example. If it costs $20,000 for the Chinese to produce a car at the port in Los Angeles after they've produced it in China, 100% tariff, which is what we have now, means that if you buy such a car, you must pay 20,000, which goes to China to pay for it, and another 20,000, 100%, goes to Uncle Sam as a tariff. So the total cost of the car to you will be 40,000. Wow. Americans now know that they can take their time because Americans won't be able to buy a Chinese car. So the American companies are in no rush. And when the American companies finally produce those cars, as they've begun to do, they can charge an enormous price because they're protected. Since the Chinese car costs 40,000, in my example, they can charge 38,000 and be very competitive. And that may be a lot more than the profit they would have been able to get if they'd had to compete with those unprotected Chinese cars. And now let's look at the excuses. The Chinese are cheating. Every capitalist who's ever lost a competition wants to preserve whatever's left of their pride by claiming it wasn't their fault. It was the fault of the other guy who cheated. Does the government in China subsidize their car producers? Of course they do. Do American government support those? Of course they do. The federal government has helped the electric car industry. State governments have done it, and local governments have done it. Subsidies and help from the government is what companies, particularly big ones, are always trying to do and usually successful. It's not a specialty of the Chinese, and it never was. It's just a fake way of not admitting you couldn't win the competition, so the other guy must have been cheating. And all this junk about jobs. If the political leaders of this country gave a damn about jobs, they would have organized long ago what Franklin Roosevelt did in the 1930s. He went on radio and he said, if the private sector won't hire the millions of Americans who want jobs, the government will. And that's what he did. 15 million American unemployed became employed, had a good salary, could keep their home, could educate their children because the government came in. We all know there's loads of things to be done in this country. The government with the unions could together mobilize the millions who are unemployed today and put them to work, pay them properly, give them the sense of importance that comes from having a job and keeping a job and doing something useful. The only reason we don't do that in this country is because we live under the capitalist system, whose rule is the only way you can get a job is if an employer thinks he can profit by hiring you. And if he doesn't think so, he won't, and then you're stuck. Wow, not a good system. And here's something else the government doesn't care about. All that talk about the climate. We all know that we need to replace gas-guzzling cars and trucks that pollute the environment with electric vehicles that are much less polluting. What this does is slow the whole process. We could turn to China and get fast delivery on the cheapest, best electric vehicles. Much of the rest of the world is doing that. We're not. We slowed it down. We give our companies a much easier, protected market. And if you really want to know what prompted Mr. Biden, besides the joy of China bashing, which is politically cool in the United States today. Well, the clue to what Mr. Biden is doing is actually provided by Mr. Trump. Earlier this week, according to the Washington Post, Trump met with oil executives. He said, I need $1 billion to win the presidency. And if I win, I will cancel all the subsidies that the Biden administration has given to electric vehicles. And why was he telling oil industry executives this? Because if he can do that, it'll slow down or stop the production of electric vehicles, and that gives years more of a market for oil and gas to the oil executives who are sitting there smiling. It's about pandering to get votes. That's what all this is about. It's about bailing out corporations that failed in the competition with China. That's what it's really about. The babble about jobs, don't be fooled. And most of all, this is a sad chapter in the decline of the United States. Can't win the competitions anymore like it once did. Can't prevail over competitors like it once did. So you're reduced to protecting the incompetent executives who failed in the competition at the price of the inflation we will all have, worse because the prices of our electric vehicles are artificially boosted by tariffs. Come on, see through this. We need to save the country from the people who are pretending to save it. If presentations like this strike you as valuable, please consider donating to help pay the costs of producing them. Very easy to do. Just go to our website, democracyatwork.info, and all the ways you can donate will be explained there. In any case, for watching and for possibly helping, please know we are grateful. Thank you.